wanted to quickly highlight the agenda. So we are at the point where we're doing the welcoming note and doing some casual networking. That's done. We're gonna quickly dive into about the HyeTech Engage. What is the objective? What we're really trying to accomplish here as a group of community organizers. And that should take about like 5 minutes, quick intro. And then we will have a quick, like 10 to 15 minutes max, because otherwise I'll get really hard time from our community managers. 15 minutes. We'll do a quick kind of introduction to market segmentation and why it's important for go-to-market strategies. Do hands-on exercises there in that section. Do breakouts. We're gonna actually do breakout sessions where I'm gonna send you all into breakout groups of like 5 to 10 people. Please, please, please engage. This is the reason we organize this. We want you to talk to each other, to know each other, and ultimately help each other to grow and get better every day. So there's going to be breakouts. We're going to come back. We have awesome speakers. They will share their experience about go-to-market strategies and how they built their company. And then as a closing, we're going to do another breakout session. Again, randomly pick people, put people in a group so that we can continue kind of building this virtual network. That's our agenda today at the very high level. So obviously this wouldn't be possible without people helping to organize the event. So I want to extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to everyone who helped us to organize this. My picture is there, but frankly, I haven't done much. I just like to claim a credit. Most of the work was done by 4 of my friends. And then last, but certainly not least, I'm really, really excited and really thankful for Todd and Davit who joined us today and agreed to share their experience. They're 2 very strong community members. You know, Todd is a co-founder of Digital Pomegranate and Davit is co-founder of Crisp. 2 of these companies are incredibly huge success stories for our community. And hearing from them how they accomplished that success and how what best practices they can share with us so that we all can accomplish that level of success and more is really appreciated. So we're gonna have a lot of good discussions there. With that, I'd like to give the stage to Mariam to talk a little bit about HyeTech Engage and what we're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, Gev, and thanks everyone for joining. So look, I think, how do I put this? HyeTech Engage is an initiative, you can go to the next slide, Gevjan, to formalize something that HyeTech folks have been doing for a decade now, right? I mean, Davit, for example, has been to Silicon Valley, has lived here, has spent time here. And, you know, I remember having meetings with him when Chris was in the early stages with Nessus and just brainstorming, right? That is what HyeTech Engage aims to do, except virtually. I think given the pandemic and our new reality, this has become even a bigger priority. And given everything that happened in Armenia, once again, it's become a bigger priority for diaspora to support Armenian founders, particularly those in Armenia, but everywhere. So what we have done is fire up the LinkedIn group. So HyeTech's main engagement was originally on the Facebook group, but we have as many people, including our, you know, some of our really important community members are leaving Facebook for good reasons. This is on record, so I'm fine saying that. So we've decided to fire up the LinkedIn group. So if you haven't joined, please do. So what I'll do at the end of my spiel is share a link to a slide deck that explains HyeTech Engage in more detail, and this slide comes from there. So what we want to do is allow founders to have a place where they can systematically ask for support and have the rest of the community engage in the comments section and just offer to help. I think there's a really neat social element to this, to see who's contributing and what they're contributing with. So here are some of the asks in the community already. There's a bit of a structure to it so that it's easy for folks to to follow and very quickly from the first line of the post, understand what's being asked. You know, these three are examples of asking for support with fundraising, but Gev, if you go back to the previous slide, I'll highlight a few of the other types of things people could ask. So you could ask for an intro. Let's say you're looking for someone in a certain industry or a certain company. You could ask for mentors, advisors, help with sales. If you're recruiting, you can share that. If you're looking for a certain partner, you can share that. Recently with Zero, I did a market research survey, and I asked for support to connections with certain people. So whatever it may be, there's a template for it. If there isn't, we'll create one. So if you're a founder and there's a specific ask, you know, before you would message Nessus or find people in real life through one connection or another, we want this LinkedIn group to be that place where you naturally gravitate to post that ask, and the rest of the folks can support. Happy to answer any questions about it. Thanks, Gab.
Awesome. Look, thanks for sharing this. There's one poster in HyeTech Engage. It says we're better together, and I think this group really kind of embodies that, and it's important for us to use the community to grow together.
Awesome.
So,
and I just shared the link, so if you guys can go ahead and grab that now, that'd be awesome in the chat.
Perfect. Thanks so much for sharing this. So in the next, as I said, in the next 15 minutes, we'll do a quick introduction to market segmentation and why it's important for go-to-market strategies. There are a couple of things I'd like to highlight. The first is, if I was really able to cover the topic in good amount of detail in 15 minutes, I would probably get fired, because this is what I do for a living. And if you can do it in 10 minutes, then probably you don't need a professional to do it. So my goal is not to necessarily make sure I cover a lot of depth, but to cover enough for you to have kind of some high level ideas. Where would you start? What are the type of things you might go look up for? The second thing that I highlight here is there are a number of ways to do it. There's no right or wrong answer here. The type of things that I'm going to be talking about is the way that is more data-driven approach to segmentation. But you will hear from Todd and Davit different ways of doing it. So just kind of know that there is no one way to do it. And then there was one other thing I wanted to mention, but I don't remember. So here you go. We'll go to the next slide then. So a little bit about myself. I see a lot of familiar faces. Just a quick introduction. My name is Gevorg Hovsepyan. I'm from Armenia originally. Started my professional life in Yerevan State University in the Faculty of Applied Mathematics and Computer Science. Actually, a little bit before I did go to the school named FISMAT. I'm sure a number of you are from FISMAT in the group. So started my professional career at Tumo Center. I'm confident everyone knows Tumo Center here. I was an engineer there responsible for building systems. When you're walking around the fountain or you're kind of walking in the Tumo building, all those security lighting and fountain systems, I had the pleasure to work on those. And then, I also had the pleasure to leave Tumo, try to build a company named Lion Sharp. Some of you probably heard about this name, and the picture is the team. We built the team, successfully failed. And one of the reasons why I failed is because I failed to find a product market fit. I failed to understand the customer. And this is why this section is important to me. Most recently, I've been doing a lot of corporate work in US, joined a company called Metrotech, which got acquired by Ericsson, joined the company Eliza, got acquired by HMS. And most recently, I serve as Director of Product Management at the company called QuickBase, which might be in a similar space that Talar was talking about. And throughout this time, I spent a good amount of time thinking about segmentation, M&A, business opportunity in a specific segment. So I think that can be kind of a useful information for this section. Very quick thing. I love to share good books that I read about the topic that I talk about. So these 3 books, I highly encourage you to get a copy and read. That will help you understand kind of go-to-market strategies from different perspectives. So with that, I want to run a 2-second survey to understand where we are as a group. What are my segments? How familiar you are with the concept? I'm going to keep this open for about 30 seconds, so make sure you don't miss it. $18 seconds, 20 seconds, 25 seconds. Okay, 30 seconds. Ending the poll. Here is the situation. Here are the segments that we are dealing with in this group, right? So we have people that are very familiar. We have 41% that are not so much familiar, and we have some people that are high level familiar with the concept. So here's what experience I have in our community as I engage with startups. This is, I don't want to paint every startup with the same brush, but in most of the times when I engage with startups and I say, okay, they have a pitch deck, they present something really interested either for investment or for feedback, they say, I got a secret sauce. And I know that the sauce market is $10 billion market. And, there is $5 billion of that is my market. This is the market. This is people that like my sauce. And realistically, while this is kind of good way to start the conversation, this can't be really the end, right? So in order for you to understand how you're gonna go and penetrate the market, how you're gonna go find your customers and do some sales, you need to have more detailed view of your market, and most importantly, when investors ask or when business developers ask, what will my money do? You're asking me to give you money. What will my money do? Are you able to penetrate the market? Are you able to do an R&D that helps you to make a business performance progress? You need to be able to kind of articulate a little bit detailed the target that you have. So at the very high level, we're really talking about the global market. Everyone is aware about the global market. Every single startup I talk to, they say the global market of food is like whatever, $20 billion market. But I think we shouldn't stop there. We should then start thinking about, okay, out of that big market that we estimate, what is the market that applicable for the categories of product that I have? So let's take food as an example. There are 8 billion people that eat. The total addressable market for vegan food is, like 2 billion people, let's say. But then you need to think even further to say, well, what out of all that vegan market, what is the group of vegan market that is applicable to my product, my part of the product? And that's your serviceable available market. And then within that group, then based on your position, your company, your funding, your product, your strategy, you need to talk about what is the obtainable market for me, because you can't reach everyone, right? If you had a solution to reach everyone, then you probably have a better idea than the core product that you're building, right? And that's what investors are interested in. Like, they want to know, if I give you the money, are you going to be able to obtain a market? So what I want to do in the next 5 minutes, very quickly, is to talk about how do you segment, and how you calculate the market size. This is going to be very, very quick because I don't have a lot of time. So in my experience, majority of startups that I engage with, they have a really strong understanding of here's the problem I'm trying to solve, and here's who I'm solving it for. They know their customer, the demographic, the type of the company. So all that good stuff, I think most of you have covered. But really, that's the basic, that's the beginning. That's not a segmentation. That's, you just know who to talk to. But then you need to actually go talk to them. So from that definition, you need to go talk to your customers to understand the attributes that are interesting for them, right? You need to understand then, based on those attributes, you need to start slicing the market to see how attractive that market is for you and how attractive your product is for that specific attribute that you identified. And then finally, you're going to think about your go-to-market strategy, which is all about product positioning. But I honestly hate to do this, use all these fancy words without really showing you like how this is done, at least at the high level. So what I'm going to ask you to do, and get ready, everyone. So right now, I'd like to ask you to go to menti.com. Just open your computers, go to menti.com, and type this number in menti.com. So what we're trying to do right now, we're trying to do segmentation for this HyeTech group. I'm trying to understand, are we talking to the right people? We have 40 people. Are we even talking to the right people? So first, what I'm going to ask you to do is answer the question. Just share the attributes with us. Why, like, what are the 3 things that describe you, why you joined this session, right? 3 reasons: networking, fun, you like ice cream, whatever, right? Just drop some attributes here. Keep typing. As you're typing, we're generating. And really, while you're doing this, another thing I'll say is these are some basic tools to understand your market. Focused groups are the same thing. If you have a product manager that is not doing this kind of work, you should be doing it. Okay, so we have networking. We want to learn. We want to meet Armenian startup. We want to have investments. You know, all the answers coming. You obviously can see networking is a huge part of this. So now this is generating, but I think we got the point. So I'm trying to understand the attributes that my segment, you all joined this call, there's a reason you're here, is interested in. Now, what I'm going to do with all of you in the call, I'm going to say, okay, we have this. So obviously networking is one and learning is the other one. Those words are popping up for us. So I'm going to say, okay, let's do networking and learning. And learning. And now I'm going to ask you to use the same code, no difference. I'm going to ask you to answer how important these 2 attributes are for you. So if you notice, what I'm doing is I'm trying to segment the group. So here's what's happening, right? So a lot of people are interested in learning. So that's why we're gravitating towards the learning. A lot of people want both learning and network, which is good. That's why we're doing this. So now what I'm going to do with this information, I did my attribution and I understood where is my population, what is the distribution of my population on this attribution. In other words, I know my customer. My group of customers are somewhere in this plot that you see. So the second thing I'm going to do here before getting to go to market is I'm going to say, okay, what's attractive to me as a business? I know now what's attractive to you. but I still need to think about what's attractive for us as a community organizer. And I may pick the boxes, the middle box and the box right after it as the segment that I'm trying to target. And given the importance of these attributes for you in that specific boxes, I'll talk to you in that language. I'll try to attract you, and I know who you are. So this is, again, very basic. There are a lot of different ways to do it, but I just wanted you to understand the process. And this helps you to come up with go-to-market strategy that is targeted, that is focused, and that helps you to kind of make progress. Awesome. Last thing I'm going to mention, and I'm going to shut up because my team members are probably using more time than I should have. I'm just going to, last thing I'm going to highlight for you is that once you do the segmentation, the attribution, there are ways you can estimate the size. A lot of Armenian startups, a lot of Armenian companies do it top down. They just say, this is the market size, 10 billion, 8 billion is applicable to us, 5 billion is something we can attract. But bottom up is what I prefer, which is very data-driven, modeling-driven. You do the data sampling, you build the model on top of it, and you estimate the size, the population. And then the value theory is all for folks that introduce new category in the marketplace. That segment doesn't exist, so that really helps you to kind of assess the sensitivity. Price sensitivity helps you to assess the customer willingness to pay, and do modeling to assess the size of the market that doesn't exist. Fortunately, I don't have a lot of time to dive into this, but more things for you to read. This is the 4 things that you will need to read. That actually talks about all the steps that might be interesting for you to think about as you are thinking about your go-to-market strategy. Last thing I'll say, and I'll shut up. If you have any questions, want to dive deep into any of this, I do this for as my job. I'm more than happy to engage with any of you. I'm not consulting. I'm not sitting on anyone's board. I'm not like, I'll just go hands-on, build it for you, for your company, help you to make progress. If you are interested, you know where to find me. I'll be more than happy to help. And I used more than 15 minutes, which means I'm gonna be in trouble. So.
We're already in trouble.
So here's what we're gonna do now. So what I'm gonna do is, now that you had this discussion, I'm gonna put you in the groups, in the breakout sessions. Be sure you're ready to introduce yourselves and start discussing ideas about go-to-market strategies or anything else. And we're gonna have facilitators in each group. Let me stop sharing this. And because you all like networking, we will do it right now.
Don't forget to unmute people.
Yes. So I'm gonna do, we are 42 people, so I'll do room of 11. Awesome. I'm sending everyone to groups. Be ready to talk to each other. Network.
Good. One says,
Love, Tanya, how are you doing?
good, good. Listen, I have to leave, but are you gonna share that presentation anywhere?
Yes, absolutely. We'll send a follow-up email.
Okay. I might have follow-up questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to reach out.
Okay, Laves?
Yeah. Vi bara man portföljen haskanam
Lave.
grupane laverelate. I'm trying to figure this
Okay,
out.
Lave. Bye.
Okay, we failed the first time. We're gonna do it again.
Can you? Yeah, I think you need like 50 seconds for people to come back to the room.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
It was actually okay in my room too, but then I don't know if there were like other rooms where people had no idea what to do. So, or
Well, I mean, this is
Yeah.
what Zoom networking, you know?
I feel like you probably broke up some conversations that had already started, but let's
It's
startup
okay.
style. Fail fast and fix.
Okay, now everyone is gonna be here.
yeah, if anybody was having a really important business development conversation that now fails because of Gevorg's Zoom mistake, I think you can. We'll give you
Okay.
legal advice on how to rectify that.
Everyone
I
is
was
here.
pitching. I was just pitching, man. I was like, I almost raised $5 million. I saw 40.
Folks, if you want to sue me, I'll send you my address, send all the paperwork. But we're gonna try this again. This is one more time. So I created, I'm double checking, recreate. I'm creating 5 rooms, no, 4 rooms, 11 people per room. Let's try again. This is the last time I'm trying this.
This countdown is giving me anxiety.
Sue me for that as well.
Sergeant, I'm not telling you, like, how much money do you have? How much I'm suing? All right, let's go. Let's go.
Just 5
Did
for
you
bankruptcy.
create it?
Yes. I will.
But we're all
open the
still
room.
here.
Okay.
Ah, yeah, going.
There is an Arsenal Manchester United game too. All right.
So we have to go to our own rooms, right? There's
Yes.
your 1, I'm 3.
Hey, Gregory, can you hear me? Or Georgi? Hello? Hi, Sarvan.
Hi,
Hello?
can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So we're doing a breakout session. So if you don't mind, I'll assign you to one of the breakout groups.
Sure.
Yep. Let me assign to room 2. Yep. Hello, hello. Hello, Jean Paul.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you
How
doing
are
today?
you? Good, good. I'm sorry I logged in late with the time difference.
Yeah, no worries at all. We are actually in the breakout sessions for the networking. I can
Okay.
assign you to one of the breakout rooms if you don't mind.
I think I've been assigned to Mariam's breakout room, room 4.
Okay,
I join that one.
Yeah, I will assign you to that group. I think you are actually already assigned. You can just move to that group if you look at your controls. Hey, Alex, how are you doing?
Well, this is like TOEFL exam when you are passing your speaking and all of a sudden it's over. So in the middle of the topic, it's just over.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you all enjoyed the first 15 minutes. Before we move to the next section of this event, we have two people who said they're not here to learn or network. Who are those? Anyway.
Breakfast coffee.
They came for the ice cream, man.
I know. I wouldn't actually mind an ice cream. Awesome, folks. So let's move forward. Really excited about the next section. This is really the signature event of this session, the panel discussion with our guest speakers. So I'll pass the stage to Krikor, who will be our moderator and who will help the session. Coco.
Thanks, Gav. I'm really excited that we have Todd and Davit so generously agreed to share with us their time and really their story. So we'll kick it off with a few questions to them. And we also want you to participate. So we have a Pigeonhole link. I'll share it in the chat here. Please feel free to go there, start posting your questions. It's okay if you don't have a question right now. As the discussion sort of progresses and you think of something, post it there. If you see a question that you like, feel free to upvote it so it goes to the top and we can address it earlier. So with that out of the way, I'll just introduce myself very quickly and then turn it to our really guest speakers. So my name is Krikor. I was born in Bulgaria, moved to New York for college, and after that I moved a little bit up to Boston, up north. So I've been living here for the last 15 years. Professionally, I've spent my career in financial technology, specifically in hedge funds. And then somewhat recently, I co-founded a company in EdTech, so B2B EdTech. And I'm sure we'll get to speak about that some other time. But today I really want to focus on our really guests, special guests, Todd and Davit. So I'll give you just a one sentence introduction of both of them. None of them are really new or strangers to this community. I think all of you know them very well. Todd, the co-founder of Digital Pomegranate. Todd, keep me honest here, but I think the company has been in business for around 8 years now. It's the majority of the team is in Gyumri, and I think is the biggest private employer in Gyumri, if I'm not mistaken. But again, keep me honest here. In fact, if any of you play trivia online or buy music, chances are that you have touched some of Todd's company's technology in the background. And then Davit is the co-founder of Crisp. He spent some time in US working in other companies. In 2017, he co-founded Crisp, and the company is trying to just make communication, virtual communication better. More specifically, they are focusing on noise canceling technology that eliminates background noise. For example, if I had a dog barking in the background, you wouldn't be able to hear it. So with those introductions sort of out of the way, I want to refocus us on go-to-market strategy and tying really the theoretical part that Gev described. Let's hear from Todd and Davit of how it plays out in reality. So with that, I'll open it you guys.
Davit, do you want to start? Or?
Sure, happy to. Yeah. Well, okay. So I think, like in general, go-to-market is tight, highly tied to the business model, right? Like I would like to share the experience we had at Crisp with that. Like originally when we started Crisp, it was called 2Hertz, and the idea was like our business model was technology licensing, right? So we thought we will create awesome technologies, complicated technologies, and we will license this to big companies, or not just big, like any company that needs like noise cancellation would get that. And like what you do in that, like the go-to-market is very intuitive, I would say, right? You would need to find these customers, convince them somehow to try your technology out, and then like hope that they're happy with it, and then like land them as customers. But the reality was very, very, very complicated, right? After some experimentations, we found out that like because our technology must be embedded into like voice, and voice or like real-time voice, right? Like voice is a very complicated it usually is in a like a critical infrastructure, critical path of the infrastructure, right? And changing that is very difficult. So we talked to very big companies. Actually, we talked to Zoom, we talked to Twilio, where I used to work, so I had a lot of connections there. And we talked to many companies, and what happened is that we saw that these companies are moving very, very slow, right? And for a startup, like speed is everything, right? You have some, you don't have enough gas to spend like, 9 to 12 months with every customer. So we had to be creative there. And actually, yeah, we met an investor. We were meeting a lot of investors, but we met an investor that was introduced by one of members of the group, Gevorg Hovsepyan, if you know her. I'm sure many of you know her. So we met an investor, and she asked a question that sort of stuck with me. She asked like, okay, it seems like it's a great technology, but have you gathered any feedback from like real users, right? And that was a really important question for us. Like we didn't have any way to actually get that feedback, because unless it's like a chicken and egg problem, right? Unless you get embedded into somewhere, you cannot get feedback, and the opposite, right? So like on the plane coming back to Armenia, I had this idea. Okay, like how about we build a virtual microphone and like basically own our destiny, right? We don't need to depend on others. And this virtual microphone, we can give it to our, like somehow we will find a distribution and we will give it to our users, and they will give feedback to us. And then, so that was one critical point in our journey. And the other one was that, like, yeah, as a technology licensing company, and this is again like very highly related to go-to-market, right? You have something very complicated and very cool, and you want people to easily test that. If people cannot easily test that, what are the chances for your success, especially if you're a startup? So we were like, now as a company, we're working with another technology vendor, right, that we want to evaluate. It took me like 9 months like to communicate with them to get just like at a point where we can evaluate their technology. I think it's crazy. What I told my team is like, let's promise to not become a company like that, right? Speed is everything. So the reason why we actually built the virtual microphone, which is Crisp today, right, was to bring this technology easily to our customers, so that an engineer at Twilio or Apple or wherever, they can download our app, test it, get excited, and then come to us, right? So and it worked. It worked because after we launched like this virtual microphone app in 2018, lot of customers just came to us, right? It was all inbound after that. We didn't have to go outbound and go to this crazy process of finding the right person in the company, right? Like BD or engineer, like we didn't know who to even approach. Like companies like Amazon, Microsoft came to us and said, hey, like we found it, found your product. Well, actually it was big on Product Hunt. That's how they found us. But like we got a lot of potential customers. But what we also realized is that our virtual microphone app started to, grow, and we said, okay, maybe we are just in a wrong business model, right? Maybe we need to change our business model from technology licensing company to like a SaaS app, because clearly our end users just love the app, right? And maybe we can create a new category. And then we started building like we said no to everyone. We said no to Amazon, Microsoft, and others, and started building our app. And the go-to-market entirely changed. Gev, I can keep continuing, but I don't know if this is what we want. I want to make sure, Todd.
Yeah, no, I think you're touching a very interesting topic there of sort of what's the evolution of your strategy. And I'd love to talk more about that. Before that, however, Todd, would you like to tell us kind of how things look from your perspective? And maybe
actually, it's a great segue, because what I was going to really basically say the same thing. I mean, we our genesis was a long time ago. I had in case anyone's wondering, I'm not Armenian, but my lovely wife is. So she encouraged me to, we were going to go on vacation there, and I've been in the tech business a very long time, over 30 years. And I went to look at Yerevan, and it was okay. It wasn't really, I could tell the expenses were high and things like that. But I really went to Gyumri, and I'm originally from New Orleans. And I went there, and it was just really seemed a very special place, reminded me of where I was from. And especially I had helped in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina a lot. We helped build the tech industry there. And I said to myself, I was like, that's it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to open up a company here. There was like 2-3 people in the city who could code at the time. And that's it. So we started. And so we, again, it was, as Davit said, it was the evolution. Clearly we had to get people trained. It wasn't like we were a tech startup. I mean, I did a lot of the coding myself in the beginning, but it was like it took years to get people to go. And we created this company called Digital Pomegranate. And the whole concept of the pomegranate really was, it was, not only just Armenia, but it was the concept of the seeds. And what we would do is a lot of startups, in my experience, also end up failing because they don't have all of the infrastructure. When you have a go-to-market strategy, like Gevorg says, it's really important to understand all that concept, but it's easy to say that, but when you're coding 8 hours a day and then you're spending 3 hours a day on a go-to-market strategy, it's hard to differentiate it. And how do you get all those resources that are necessary to go to market? You need graphic design, you need UI, UX people, you need marketers, you need people who can write proper material in the languages that you needed. So we created Digital Pomegranate to be a foundation company, a resource that eventually, once we got that resource built, we would be able to grow just company after company after company after company. So the idea was that everything would grow from that pomegranate. The great news is we're now there. So we started with 1 person, and now we're up to, I think, I don't know, maybe close to 60, hardcore individuals that are highly trained and are world class. Now, what we did was we started doing those, just like Davit said. We originally, you do the B2B to work, you do contract work. But what I quickly realized, the same as that he did, it's kind of interesting, it's the same story. If you don't make money while you sleep, you're going to be 6 months away from poverty. I mean, that's the bottom line. If you constantly, the only income you're making is basically your billable hours, eventually you crash and burn, because you can't work that many hours and you can't make enough money to invest in the future. So what we did was we created a migrant strategy of that we would write our own apps. Well, perfectly, you mentioned trivia. Well, we started that a couple of years ago, but we crashed and burned and failed because you know, the thing that Gevorg said was the sound serviceable, obtainable market, right? Who can you, it's not just who you can introduce and who you can reach, it's who can you service, right? It's serviceable, obtainable market. So for us, we really crashed and burned on that. And so what we ended up doing was we reversed it. So our go-to strategy completely changed. What we decided to do was create partnerships with people. So we really changed partnerships. So our go-to-market strategy was to find the top person in that category and partner with them and say, we'll bring the tech, we bring this big company with everything that you need, and you work with us to create that go-to-market strategy. And because it's also time, it's culture, like the other, like in our breakout group, the guy was saying, you know, we've got to have people all in all these different markets. So we did that. And so that's what we've done. We've created things like Triviamatic, which is, you know, a big trivia company, Express VAT. We partner with an accounting firm in the UK that processes the VAT payments. We cooperate with Tokai University in Japan. We do like English language. So we're the top in the market in that. And also the go-to strategies change a little bit different. So we actually, instead of also the partnerships, we also decide to do acquisition. So we start to get the point where we not only do we partner, but then we buy 50% of the company. So there's a thing called antique shop, with this guy who had an antique shop and he wanted to get in the art market. But we bought 50% of the company. He's in London. He has 50 to 60% of the market share. Well, now we're moving the company to Gyumri, and we will have somewhere about half of the market for the antique business in Paris and London, and we're going to expand it to the art market. So one of the ways that we get this market share is we not only through partner, but we also one of the ways was acquisition.
Yeah,
and
that's super impressive. I really love the way you guys have grown and really have your footprint felt in the entire world. So big congrats on that. Another question for you guys is, how much of a science is the go-to-market strategy, and how much of an intuition is it? And if you can give us some examples, that will be really great.
How do you want to start?
Well, that's a good question. So, all right. So in our breakout room, someone had mentioned the word content marketing. So I'm a data scientist, right? I'm an industrial engineer, and I track everything. So the key thing for me is, what is my ROI? It's what's the most effective thing, and what's the most ROI. So for me, in my business, the most effective way to not only find the market segment, to qualify that, is email marketing. So the interesting things, everything from simple apps to business to consumer apps, has been email marketing. We have found our email marketing is 75% more effective than anything else. It's also, the interesting thing is, it's the lowest cost. Once you get those people in, whereby like with Facebook and things like this, there's a real science to it, because sure, they might get you some people, but you're in their home. And every time you want to access them, you have to pay again and again and again and again. So that you get diminishing returns on that. But once you get their email, you're going. And how do you get that? You know, you have content marketing and things like that. But I would say within a market segment, the best way to do it is get those emails. It's free. It's almost free to contact them, and you will find the response if you track it properly.
Yeah, makes sense. David, how is
it? I think for us, I mean, it really depends on a stage that you are, right, as a company. Like the later stage you are, probably it becomes more like maybe data driven, because you have data and all of that. So like I want to bring an example of how we actually, what happened after, actually, it's a good segue to end my story, right? What happened after we decided that we're going to change our business model to SaaS, and we're going to be like a vertical app and all of that. So before June 2019, the company was like, we generated zero revenue. Okay, like we were like just burning our investments and building the product. it was, tough time. So when we launched the product, it got some traction. It was interesting. Like, people generally have been, loving Crisp. Everyone, was, the feedback was great and so on. But we had no idea who is our customer, right? It was like all over the place because noise cancellation is such a universal problem. Like pretty much we got, as of now, actually, we got, customers, companies from all the segments. But there was something very interesting, completely intuition driven, right? Accidental, that actually shaped our strategy, at least for the last 2 years. So after we launched, we were observing that we get users with emails from like TopTal, HubSpot, and similar like companies, but I had no idea what connects these companies together, right? And then like one day I'm browsing Twitter, and then there is an article from TechCrunch on Twitter saying TopTal, HubSpot, and this and that companies. What brings them together, right? In my head, like, are they all using Crisp? Is that what brings them together? But after reading the article, it was saying like they are the companies that endorse remote work, right? And we had not, we didn't have much information about remote work. Like, of course, we knew what remote work is, and I was even using that in my pitch without really understanding remote work. But after, getting that insight, I think that made total sense, right? Like, we started thinking about remote work and repositioning Crisp for that, right? So it was all accidental for us. Like, we probably would end up doing that. It was just like this accidental, insights is what has been shaping a lot of our strategy. And I think early stage, that's what's happening, right? You do a lot of experimentations, and as you do, you start learning stuff, and they start shaping and forming your strategy. And yeah, so like, and focusing on remote work was a key for us, because in 2020 we know what happened, right? So like, we as a company were ready for that, right? Without repositioning our messaging and everything on remote work, we wouldn't be where we are. So it was, I would attribute to an accidental Twitter from tweet coming from TechCrunch, and me seeing that tweet.
That's very great to hear. So my takeaway is based on what you guys are sharing with us, is that number one, go-to-market strategy is not static, but it's rather dynamic, and it's constantly evolving. And the other thing that I picked up on what you guys are saying, which I think is important, is experimentation. So at the beginning, especially when you don't have data, you have to experiment. That's the only way to see if there is any adoption, see if there is some willingness to pay there. So those are really great insights. Thanks for sharing.
Well, I want to add one more thing real quick. The go-to-market strategy is not just about the consumer, real quick. So in 2021, our big focus this year is we did a survey, and also you have to find out where people are going. So we did we looked at market segment. The number one growth market was not actually Facebook or anything like that. It was WeChat. So for example, if you were going to do like a web-based app or something like this, there's a thing, it's owned by Tencent, which is the owner of WeChat. So they have an app that's called the Wechat Mini App. Probably the interesting thing would be nice to do a survey. How many people have heard of the mini apps here in the thing? And what you don't realize is that the mini apps has a market segment of $1.1 billion. I mean, 1.1 billion people on it already. And the most interesting thing so for Digital Pomegranate, not only are we looking for the specific consumer, we're also looking for the platform. So we're moving to WeChat because, interestingly enough, we're running this through Armenia. The only country in the world that can get to China without a visa is actually Armenians. And as easy as you can set up a company there, Armenia is the only country where you can actually open up a company without having to have a local partner. Don't ask me how that got popped out, but it did. So the real focus you guys should really focus on, if you're looking for it, is China, Okay, so right now we have sent people to China. We're training 3 people to speak Chinese, and you know, I speak it myself, but so I have a little bit of understanding about the market segment. But the key thing is also knowing where that is. You're talking about 1 billion people, man, 1 billion people, and guess what? Only people on it are Asians.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great insight. I personally didn't know that. I bet you there's others on the call that didn't. So thanks for that. I mean, you know, in hockey, there is this saying, don't skate to where the puck is, but skate towards where the puck is going. So anticipating where the market is going to go and heading in that direction seems to be what you're kind of drawing out as a lesson for us.
Yeah, because for example, in partnerships, so we're partnering with the, believe this or not, we're partnering with the Chinese Medicine Association. So the #1 reason they did a survey that said, why are they switching to medical doctors? Well, they thought it was because Western medicine. And at the end of the day, they asked them, why are you switching? And they answered because they couldn't book an appointment, because in there they had to go sit and wait. So we're going to book, we are partnering with them. We're booking a scheduling system where you can book an appointment with a natural Chinese doctor. Wow. And we're doing that whole thing in humor. So that's you find it will, the market will find you if you look for the opportunities.
No, that's really great.
Just a quick time check. Just
Okay,
wanted to quickly run one quick survey, like 30 seconds, whether the team believes we want to go to a breakout or do a Q&A, because there are a lot of good questions. So just 30 seconds, answer the question just to get the pulse in the room. Okay, 20 seconds, 10 more seconds. Okay, 96% of people want to do the panel discussion.
Okay, Todd, David, we have some more work for you then.
Well, by the way, I'm the biggest user of Crisp, man. In our Discord, we love it. That's how we run our business. So David's, I'm on Crisp 6 hours a day, 8 to 10 hours a day sometimes.
Yeah, you know, actually, Discord story was very interesting as well, and it's tied to the go-to-market as well. And we had to do like really hard choices there, and happy to share about that. Yeah, if that's interesting. But let's see what the questions are, right?
Yeah, one question I want to touch on, it's the top voted question from our audience, is what are some unique challenges really when you're doing business from Armenia? So both of you have done business from Armenia and from outside of Armenia. So does the geography matter, and how so? Who wants to start?
Yeah, I'm happy to go. Yeah. You know, like we are a very like traditional technology startup, right? You know, that like funded startup that we had to fight for VC money for, you know, every stage we went through, and happy to share the story from that perspective. I think it is important. Like again, it depends on the stage, right? Like. You know, very early stage where we had like pretty much zero leverage as a company, because we didn't have much traction and everything. You know, like from investor perspective, they look at you and want to get credibility, right? Like they want to assess, you know, can they trust you or not? So from that perspective, of course, you being in US adds so much more credibility than being in a country that they, you know, mix with Romania most of the time, right? When you say the name. So for us, like we going through Berkeley Skytech Accelerator, and me of obviously having a history of living there has played a big role, right? But as we grew as a company, that has become less and less important. And obviously with Zooms of the world, right? That makes it so easy to connect, you know, to run the business basically. Yeah. Currently, I would think that it doesn't play any role that the founders of Crisp are in Armenia and are not planning to move anywhere from Armenia, right? So like we raised a lot of money in 2020 while staying, you know, in Armenia and not actually meeting the investors. I should say that we have a, you know, executive person also in Berkeley. So he's the chief operating officer of the company, and that's also important. Just from like putting aside that what he does, but just from credibility perspective, that's important. Just like being in Armenia isolated doesn't help from VC's perspective. As it concerns, like as far as like running the business, like there is no downside. Actually, we run the business from here. We have a team in US. We have the team now globally from like Singapore, Cyprus, Germany, and we can easily run the business with Zoom. Like so, yeah.
Got it. So I think, yeah, I'd say the same thing. I mean, it's hard when you first start. I mean, so one of our biggest clients is Sony Music. So actually, you guys don't know this, but somewhere around, and we do music apps all around the world, 65–70% of all commercial musicians in the world get paid from a royalty system through a mobile app that's developed in Cumbria. But I could tell you, when we sat on the board of Sony Music, we went in there and I said, a lot of developers and the back end people, they're in Armenia. And the guy, so I said that I'm making a presentation. He said, so you have an office in Florida? And I said, no. He goes, Armenia, Florida. I'm like, no, the country. He goes, is there a country called? He just kind of cut off there. And so, because he had Googled it and it came up Armenia, Florida. And so the funny thing was, so I pitch, and we went up against some really, really major people, SAP, all that sort of stuff. And at the end of the day, we were agile, we were quick. And the guy said, well, why should I trust you? And this is for a lot of people in there are just thinking about it. If I'll be not truthful for not saying that a lot of my years of experience didn't bring people to the table. It got you in the door. It got us in the door, but it didn't get us the contract. And I was there, and the fellow was like, well, how, if you're people in Armenia, how can we trust? How can we trust? And I simply looked the guy in the face and said, look, we will do it. If you don't like it, don't pay me. That's it. And so we won the contract. And then that comes down to it. And also is like Davit just said, hiring people. The people we have now, I mean, they're rock stars. We sat there, and again, we went up against huge corporate companies in Australia. They wanted to release all the prisoners, all nonviolent prisoners in Australia, but they needed a mobile app. They created what a virtual parole system. And so I resigned as CEO because the best person in our organization was a young 28-year-old lady named Guyana. She's like a freaking rock star. She's like awesome. And you have to be, and I was able to say, you know what? It's time for me to walk away. So the face of the company is Guyana, and she did it. And she was going up against those people in all these big companies in Australia. And of course, good thing is we had a partner. And she presented it. And I mean, we're talking about an app that moves the world, that makes the world turn. And they still trusted her. It's about believing it. Remember, you're talking tens of thousands of people. Their whole life is through this parole system, through this app. And you have to build that trust. If you're looking for one thing when you're trying to get market segment or get people to do it, it's trust. In the technology business, they must trust you.
Yeah, that's really great. I love hearing these Armenian success stories. So we hear more and more and more of them. Just to summarize what I'm hearing from both of you is credibility is king when you're starting off. Once you have an established business and people get to know you, then it's a lot easier to just base the success on really the tangible output of your work. So let's dive into that a little bit deeper. For people who do not have, for entrepreneurs from Armenia that are on this call and do not have access to necessarily a partner, let's say somewhere outside of Armenia, what resources do they have locally that they can tap into and leverage for the acceleration of their company?
My first answer is go find one. If you don't ask, you won't get. Go find one. Find someone that you want to partner with. There's nothing wrong with just, like you said, what did Gevorg say? On the East Coast, we like to cold call. Look, man, my first app was a hair salon software. Who thinks about hair salon software? I went down Broadway Avenue in New York and knocked on every single hair salon. And I'm the tech guy, right? We turned it into almost a $20 million business and sold it to Estee Lauder. So you know, just because I don't know anywhere, just because you're not in Armenia, just go find someone. That's the first thing. The second thing is, you know, there's a ton of resources. The key to, in my mind, the key to Armenia is not really even the technology, it's the entrepreneurship. The entrepreneurship in Armenia is phenomenal. It's one of the best in the world. So everything you need there is there. It's just about getting it and finding it.
Team, just a quick time check. We're at 1:35, so let's do a wrap in 10 minutes, just to be respectful of people's time.
Sure. Sounds good. David, anything to add, you know, in terms of funding, in terms of mentorship, or anything else like marketing?
So did I understand the question that if you are not in Armenia but want to find a partner in Armenia, was that the question?
Not necessarily. Let's say that, you know, I am a founder of, you know, I just decided to start a company today. I am in Armenia. I have no exposure to the rest of the world. How would I go about it? What resources do I have available to me?
Well, this is a good resource, right? I mean, HyeTech. Yeah, you should start from here, I guess. There are actually like, yeah, I mean, I think one of the problems we have in Armenia is that people, yeah, the lack of the networking culture, right? They would, you know, people would rather stay, you know, in the garage and build something because most of the entrepreneurs have engineering background rather than connect. And I think we as a community need to you know, change that with our behavior, right? We need to share, and we need to, you know, bring the experience, the business culture experience that we learned while being in US and in other places of the world to here, and encourage them to network more, share their ideas more. You know, don't just keep, you know, to your idea and hide somewhere. And I think that's the first thing. And then, like, once that happens, I think people will just, you know, like, things will happen naturally, right? Like, people will go to accelerators, they will come to these events, and they will, you know, ask their friends, and friends will find, you know, the right connections, and at the end they will find, you know, finding a co-founder obviously is one of the toughest things, you know, no matter you're in Armenia or anywhere else. But I think, you know, as Todd said, like, just go and do that. But to go and do that, you know, first you need to go over that, you know, cultural, business cultural thing,
yeah,
which I'm sure all of us have something to, you know, help, you know, to do and help and level up.
I can relate to that. You know, I come from technology background, and you know, it was an effort to come out of my shell and, you know, go and network and speak to people and tell them about what I'm doing, and ask for help, and look for resources. So I think this is a great reminder from both of you that really success is not defined by the resources around you, but rather the resources in you of what are you ready to do in order to achieve your goal. So thank you.
I have a question. I haven't been in Armenia since the WCIT conference, obviously with COVID and everything. But one question I want to know is that is there a culture, or not a culture, but do you have something that on a regular basis is something like, you know, the Happy Tuesdays? Like in a lot of capital cities, you have these tech forums where it's sort of informal. It may take place at a something like a Tumo Center, and there's drinks, and there's just a call out to people in the tech community that just meet once a week or once every 2 weeks, and it's a /social/networking. Does that exist now on a regular basis anywhere in Yerevan or Gyumri for that matter?
Well, in Gyumri it does. We just built a cafe in our office, and a rooftop cafe that's opening up next month. So feel free, anyone, to come by to Gyumri, to have nice coffee, a little beverage after hours.
But you know what I'm talking about, Todd,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like in London, they have it, and they have different names. It's like, you know, Tech Tuesday or Networking Monday or whatever. They just, but it's a regular thing, and it's usually somebody hosts it, and it's you know,
Yeah.
an opportunity to meet guys, gals, techies, business, all kinds of people get together. Is that a regular thing? Because that's one way to kind of break up this sitting in your garage all day mentality.
Yeah, I would say,
Yeah,
go ahead. Okay, so I would say that in 2020, I saw that less for obvious reasons, I think, than before that. Before that, I remember, you know, I definitely can remember a lot of tech events happening, and yeah, like seeing a lot of the community is not that big, right? I mean, we know pretty much everyone, and I would like it's not regular. You know, I don't know any regular events like every 2 weeks like that. I know there are like topic centered events like, I don't know, UX or engineering or, but I don't know any like business related events happening regularly. HyeTech was happening regularly at some point, right? Hero House was doing some things, you know, regularly, but I wouldn't say there's like this event that happens, you know, regularly, and
Well,
just, you know, we need to grow it.
Just a shameless plug here. I think this what we're trying to organize here in the regular cadence is exactly that. So this is our second event, and I'm sure we'll continue working as community managers to make this more regular. But I wanted to kind of because it's 1:41, just want to be respectful for everyone's time. What I think we will do next, if you don't mind, folks. I think networking has incredible value, and a lot of you voted that it's really important. So if you have time, I like to open the breakout sessions and just let it go in terms of like networking. We can keep it as open as long as we need to, so that we can continue the conversation. But if people need to drop, that's perfectly fine as well. I have plenty of time after this event.
No, that sounds great. Once again, Todd, David, thank you very much for your time and for sharing really your journeys with us. I found them very insightful. I'm sure everyone else learned a lot as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Virtual applause.
And before I open the breakout sessions, wanted to say I really appreciate everyone joining and participating, and certainly Todd and David, thank you so much for sharing your experience with all of us. We all really appreciate it.
We will see all of you next month. We're going to make it our target to do this every month, so that you know it's going to be here and you don't have to, you know, wonder. It's going to happen again, and join us and tell us how to make it better.
Excellent.
Yep, opening up the groups.
Here we go.